about intercellular chemical messengers. In the previous lectures, we had a discussion about the components of the reflexes and reflex arc. Uh, so, in case of homeostatic response, or for the reflexes, the essential uh, component for the homeostatic process is to uh, communicate communication of the different reflexes and different parts with each other. This is one of the important component of the local homeostatic response. So in majority of the cases, the communication between the cells, that is called intercellular communication, that is performed by specific type of the messengers. Those are called chemical messengers. And if we look at the chemical messengers, we have three types of the chemical messengers. One of them are called hormones. Then we have neurotransmitters and autocrine, paracrine agents. All these are included in chemical messengers. Can you see the slides? Slides nazar aa rahi? Okay. If we talk about the hormones, this is one of the chemical messenger. Hormones, it functions as chemical messenger, and it basically enables the specific type of the cells. Those are hormone secreting cells, and those hormone secreting cells, they communicate uh, with each other, and those cells are act upon by the hormones. Hormones basically stimulate those cells, and those are the target cells of the hormone. uh, and most of the cases, hormones, they use blood as their delivery service, as their source for the communication. Hormones, they secrete their secretion into the blood, and with the blood, those secretion, they are transported to the target cells of those hormones. And in case of neurotransmitter, this is the second type of the chemical messenger. Nerve cells, they communicate with each other, and sometimes the nerve cells, they also communicate with the effector cell. For example, the motor neuron, they will ultimately send the information to the effectors of the body. So nerve cells, they communicate with each other, as well as sometimes they communicate with the effector cells with the help of specific type of the chemical messengers, and those chemical messengers are called neurotransmitters. So this is the second category of the chemical messengers. And sometimes nerve cells, sometimes it alters the activity of another by releasing from its ending a neurotransmitter, and the neurotransmitter will diffuse through the extracellular fluid, which is separating the two nerve cells, and it will act upon the second cell. This is the mechanism of the function of the neurotransmitter. Similarly, neurotransmitter, sometime the neurotransmitters which are released from the nerve cells, they may diffuse into the extracellular fluid in immediate vicinity of the effector cell, and sometime they can control the effector cell. Chemical messenger that is released by certain nerve cells, sometime it neither act on adjacent nerve cells nor in adjacent effector cells, but sometime it enters into the bloodstream to act on the target cell elsewhere in the body. This is the another mechanism of the function of these chemical messengers, which are released by the nerve cells, but these chemical messengers, neither they act on the adjacent nerve cell as like that of neurotransmitter, nor they nor they control the effector cell, but those chemical messengers which are released by the certain nerve cells, they may enter into the bloodstream, and they control their target cells which are present elsewhere in the body. For this reason, sometimes the messenger, they are properly termed hormones or neurohormones. Sometimes it can those chemical messengers, sometimes they can also be called as neurohormones, not neurotransmitters. So this is the difference between the neurotransmitter and neurohormones. That neurotransmitter, it either control the nerve cell, or sometime it also controls certain effector cells. But when we talk about the neurohormones are also released by the nerve cells, but they don't control the adjacent nerve cells or the effector cell, but they may control some other cells which are present elsewhere in the body. So in that case, those chemical messengers, they will be called as neurohormones. This is the difference between the neurotransmitter and neurohormone. Chemical messengers, they participate not only in the reflexes, but sometimes they are also involved in controlling the local response. So this is the function of the chemical messenger. Chemical messenger which are involved in the local communication between the cells, those are called paracrine agents. So this is the third category. In first category we have hormones, in second category we have neurotransmitters, and the third category we have the messengers which are involved in local communication between the cells, and those chemical messengers are called paracrine agents. So paracrine autocrine agents, if we talk about the paracrine or autocrine agents, they are synthesized by the cells and they are released from those cells when the cell is stimulated by certain type of the stimuli, and their secretion will be released into the extracellular fluid. From the extracellular fluid, these secretion of the paracrine or autocrine agent, it will diffuse to the neighboring cell, and some of those neighboring cell, they may act as their target cell. And sometime if we talk about the neurotransmitters, they can sometimes they can also be classified as the subgroup of the paracrine agents, but normally we don't include them in this category. Paracrine agents are inactivated by the locally existing enzymes. So paracrine agents, they can be inactivated by the enzymes, inhibitory enzymes, and they do not enter into the bloodstream in larger quantity. So here is the diagrammatic representation of all these types of the messenger. In first category we have hormones. Hormones are secreted by specific type of the cells. Those are called glands. Glands will secrete the hormones, and hormones will enter into the bloodstream, and they will use this blood as their delivery source, and ultimately the hormone, they will exert their effect on their target cell. This is first category of the chemical messengers. Those are called hormones. In second category we have nerve cells. Nerve cells, they release specific type of the neurotransmitters upon stimulation, and these neurotransmitters, they control the neurons or the effector cell. And sometimes some chemical messengers, they are released from the neurons, but they don't control the neurons or the effector cell, but they enter into the bloodstream and they control the target cell. In that case, those are called neurohormones. And sometimes we have the chemical messengers which are involved in the local communication between the cell. This type of the agent, they are called as paracrine agents. And sometimes the chemical secretion released by a cell, it is involved in controlling the activity of their parent cell. In that case, those chemical messenger will be called as autocrine agents. So this is the difference between the autocrine and paracrine, that in case of paracrine, the secretion of the cell will be transferred to the target cell. But in case of autocrine agents, the secretion of the cell will be involved in self-regulation of that cell. This is the difference between the autocrine and paracrine agents. So one category of local chemical messenger, they are not intercellular messenger. They don't communicate between the cells. So this chemical which is secreted by a cell into the extracellular fluid and then acts upon the very cell that secrete it. This is the case, and those local cells, they will be called as autocrine agents, or chemical messengers, they are called autocrine agents. So messenger, sometime it can act as paracrine, and it can perform both paracrine and autocrine function simultaneously. Means the molecule of the messenger, they are released by a cell, may act locally on adjacent cell as well as on the same cell. So sometimes the local chemical messengers, they can behave as both paracrine as well as autocrine agents, and they can control some other target cell, as well as they can also control the cell from which these messengers are released. So this is that's how a local cell can perform both paracrine as well as autocrine function. And one of the most important thing is identification of number of the paracrine and autocrine agents and their diverse effect. This is one of the most important advancement in physiology. If we talk about the structure, uh, their structure can be very simple. For example, structure, we are talking about the structure. Their structure can be very simple. For example, in case of simple gas, nitric oxide to fatty acid derivatives. I mean, we have eicosanoids. We shall discuss the eicosanoid in detail in upcoming slides. And similarly, peptides and amino acids derivatives, all these are included in the chemical messenger. So as far as their structure is concerned, they can have a range of structure from very simple like nitric oxide to very complex like eicosanoids and amino acid derivatives, as well as certain peptides. Multiple cell types, they are involved in secretion of the chemical messengers in many tissues and many organs. And we can also classify them into various families. For example, we have one of the family of the messengers, those are called growth factors. And growth factors, it encompassing more than 50 different types of the molecules, and each of those molecule is highly effective in stimulating certain cells to divide or differentiate. So all these are included in one family and one group, that is called growth factor. Excuse me, I have to attend a call. Please stay connected. Okay, Ji. So if you look at this group that is growth factors, in these growth factors we have more than 50 different types of the molecules, and they are involved in cell differentiation and division. So according to their function, they are grouped in a single category. Those are called growth factor. The paracrine and autocrine agents, they are stimulated by certain types of the stimuli, and their stimuli are also variable. Means sometime a single or a local change can stimulate these autocrine or paracrine agent to secrete their secretion. For example, in case of concentration of the oxygen, if there is change in the concentration of the oxygen, these autocrine paracrine agent, they can start their secretion. And similarly, sometimes neurotransmitters and hormones, they can also act as the stimuli for these autocrine and paracrine agents. So paracrine and autocrine agents sometimes they oppose the effect which are induced by the neurotransmitter or hormone. Mean if the effect of the neurotransmitter or hormone that is on the autocrine and paracrine agent. So paracrine and autocrine agent they can oppose that change which is induced by these neurotransmitter or hormone. For example, if we talk about the neurotransmitter norepinephrine, as all of you know that it is secreted during the fight or flight condition. This norepinephrine it will constrict the blood vessels in the kidney, but simultaneously it will cause certain kidney cell to secrete paracrine agents that causes same vessel to dilate. So as all of you know that the function of this blood vessel is to fight or flight. So in that particular case, it can have opposing effect. Mean in one case it is constricting the blood vessels in the kidney, but simultaneously it can cause certain kidney cell to secrete the paracrine agent and that paracrine agent. So it means that paracrine agent is actually performing the opposite function to that of the neurotransmitter norepinephrine. So this is what we can call it as local negative feedback, in which the paracrine agent it will control the action of the norepinephrine to become more intense. In other cases, if we have neurotransmitter or hormone, it may stimulate the release of a paracrine and autocrine agent, and this autocrine and the secretion of this autocrine and paracrine agent is actually responsible for the cellular response to that neurotransmitter or hormone. For example, if you look at growth promoting effect of the growth hormones on bones, they are not exerted directly on the bone cells by this hormone. Rather, growth hormones stimulate the release from the bone cell of a paracrine or autocrine agent, and that secretion from the bone cell will stimulate or will enhance the bone growth. So this is the another way of the function of these autocrine or paracrine agents, that the hormones are neurotransmitter. It will stimulate the bone cells, and bone cells will growth hormone will stimulate the release of the autocrine or paracrine agent from the bone cells, and those secretion of the autocrine or paracrine agents will be involved in promotion of the bone growth. So this is another way of their mechanism. And I have discussed in very first slide that these chemical messengers, they have broad range of their structure and their complexity, ranging from very simple nitric oxide to very complex eicosanoids. So eicosanoid is one category of these chemical messenger. One set of the autocrine or paracrine agents which are having a wide variety of the effect in every tissue and organ system. So these are called eicosanoids. A family of the substances, they are produced by the unsaturated fatty acid, and that polyunsaturated fatty acid is called arachidonic acid. So it means the eicosanoids are derivative of arachidonic acid, and arachidonic acid is present in the phospholipids portion of the plasma membrane. As all of you know that plasma membrane of almost all the cells that is consisting of the lipid portion or lipid bilayer, and that lipid is in the form of the phospholipids. So these eicosanoids, they are derived from the component of the phospholipids, and that is called arachidonic acid. Eicosanoids is having 3 to 4 types of the chemicals. One of them are called cyclic endoperoxides. Then we have prostaglandins and thromboxanes and the leukotrienes. All these are collectively called as eicosanoids. If we talk about the endoperoxide, endoperoxides are one category of the eicosanoids. They are precursor in the biosynthesis of the prostaglandins and thromboxane. So thromboxanes and prostaglandins are secreted by these endoperoxides or cyclic endoperoxides, and those are basically secreted from the arachidonic acid. They are physiologically active compounds, and they are having their effect on vascular and air smooth muscles. Similarly, platelet aggregation, all these are controlled by these cyclic endoperoxides. Then we have prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are another category of the eicosanoids. They are a group of the lipids, and they are formed at the damaged area where the tissues or the cells are damaged, or any type of the infection that may have damaged the cells or the tissue. The prostaglandins are produced at that particular area, and the prostaglandins are involved in dealing with injury and illness, and they control various processes. For example, inflammation, similarly blood flow, blood clot formation, and induction of the labor. All these are controlled by these prostaglandins. Another category of the eicosanoids are called thromboxanes. Thromboxanes is a potent vasoconstrictor, and it is involved in platelet aggregation, and it also reduced vasoconstriction. When there is reduced vasoconstriction, that is induced, that is stimulated, or that is enhanced by this thromboxane, which is a category of these eicosanoids. Their function is also to increase the platelet number, platelet aggregation. This is another function, and these thromboxanes, they are highly expressive in those patients which are having any bleeding tendencies, or which are having any complication with the surgical procedure. So thromboxanes are expressed in high quantity in those patients. Then we have another category of these eicosanoids, and those are called leukotrienes. Leukotrienes are basically a subfamily of G protein coupled receptors, and they perform they exert their effect on peroxisome. Similarly, proliferator activated receptor, this is another type of the receptors. Leukotrienes are also involved in asthma and allergic reaction, and it also sustain various inflammatory reaction in the body. Here you can see that these are the membrane phospholipids, and with the help of an enzyme, and upon arrival of any specific stimuli, the membrane phospholipid, they will be converted into the arachidonic acid with the help of the enzyme phospholipase A. Phospholipase A will break down the membrane phospholipids, and it will be converted into the arachidonic acid. Then these arachidonic acid, it will undergo two pathways. One is called cyclooxygenase pathway, and other is called lipoxygenase pathway. With the help of cyclooxygenase pathway, we will have cyclic endoperoxide. I have discussed the function of these cyclic endoperoxide, and then we have prostaglandins and thromboxane. We have also discussed their function in detail. The second pathway which is adopted by this arachidonic acid is the lipooxygenase pathway. In case of lipooxygenase pathway, with the help of the enzyme lipooxygenase, the arachidonic acid, they will be converted into leukotrienes. And this is the function of the leukotrienes, that they are involved in inflammatory reaction, allergic reaction, and they also a subfamily of the protein coupled receptor. So if we look at the synthesis of the eicosanoid, as I have told you in the previous lecture, in the diagram, that when any appropriate stimuli, it reaches to these membranes of the various cells. For example, stimuli may be hormone, it can be neurotransmitter, or it can be paracrine agent, or any type of the drug or the toxic agent. It will activate an enzyme that is called phospholipase A2, and this phospholipase A2 will convert the membrane phospholipids into the arachidonic acid. So the enzyme, it will split off the arachidonic acid from the membrane phospholipids, and the arachidonic acid, it can be metabolized, or it can be further processed with by two pathways. We have cyclooxygenase pathway, in which the enzyme cyclooxygenase, it will ultimately form the cyclic endoperoxides, and that cyclic endoperoxide will be converted into the prostaglandins and thromboxane. This is one pathway which is called cyclooxygenase pathway, and the enzyme which is involved in this pathway will be called as cyclooxygenase. Similarly, the other pathway is initiated by another category of the enzyme, or another enzyme which is called lipooxygenase, and this lipooxygenase will result in the formation of the leukotrienes. So all these are performing important functions, especially they are involved in boosting the immunity of the body. When both of these pathways within both of these pathways, synthesis of eicosanoid is enzyme mediated. As you can see here that the enzyme which is phospholipase A2, and similarly we have a cyclooxygenase, lipooxygenase. So it means that the synthesis of all the categories of the eicosanoids, they are mediated by certain types of the enzymes, or the group of the enzymes. So enzymes are performing key role in the synthesis of eicosanoid. Beyond phospholipase A2, the eicosanoid pathway, which is the eicosanoid pathway enzyme. For example, we have lipooxygenase, we have phospholipase A2, or any cyclooxygenase. So those enzymes, when they are present in any particular cell, they will determine which type of the eicosanoid the cell is going to synthesize in response to specific type of the stimuli. Okay. The major eicosanoid division, for example, we have prostaglandins and thromboxanes, as well as we have leukotrienes. They include more than one member. So that's why we mostly use plural form. For example, we use the prostaglandins, then we will have prostaglandin A, prostaglandin G, and different types of the prostaglandins. So as a group, we will call them as prostaglandins. Similarly, we will call the thromboxanes as well as leukotrienes. So they are always mentioning plural form because of the presence of multiple number. Okay, as I have told you that they can be classified into different numbers, or different their subdivision of these eicosanoids. The different molecules with each subdivision, they are designated by a letter. For example, we will have prostaglandin A, prostaglandin G, prostaglandin E, and so it means A and E, they are two different types of the prostaglandins, and it can further be divided into prostaglandin E1, E2, similarly prostaglandin A1, A2, A3, and so on. Once these prostaglandins are synthesized, or these eicosanoids are synthesized in response to a stimuli, they are not stored to any extent. They are immediately released to the target cells, and they will act locally. That's why the eicosanoids are categorized as paracrine and autocrine agents. After the effect, they are quickly metabolized by local enzyme to inactive form. Eicosanoids, they are having a variety of the effect, as we have discussed in previous slides, that thromboxanes, they are performing different functions, leukotrienes, they are performing different functions, and similarly we have prostaglandins, they are performing different functions. Sometimes the effect of these eicosanoids that can be mediated, that can be changed with certain types of the drugs. So most common type of the drugs that can affect the eicosanoid pathway that are called aspirin. Aspirin is, all of you are very much familiar with this. It will inhibit the cyclooxygenase pathway, and once the cyclooxygenase pathway is uh, blocked, once the cyclooxygenase pathway is blocked, cyclic endoperoxides will not be formed, and similarly the prostaglandin and thromboxane, they will not be formed. So it means that the certain drugs, they can have the effect on the eicosanoid synthesis. The new drugs that can also block the cyclooxygenase pathway, they are collectively called as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Those are called NSAID, non-steroidal. Aspirin and certain other drugs which are involved in blocking the cyclooxygenase pathway, collectively those are called non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. As all of you know that these anti-inflammatory drugs, they are used against certain pain, to reduce the pain, fever and inflammation. So why we use the term non-steroidal? Non-steroidal, basically it distinguishes them from the steroids, and steroids are also used in large dose as anti-inflammatory drugs, and steroid inhibit the phospholipase A2, and it basically inhibit or block the production of all type of the eicosanoid. Whereas when we talk about the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, they are only involved in blocking the cyclooxygenase pathway. Lipooxygenase pathway will be continued, or will be normal when we use the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. But when we use the steroidal drugs, they will inhibit the all type synthesis of all type of the eicosanoids. In nerve cells, either nerve cells and endocrine glands or cells or any other type of the cells, sometimes they can secrete the same chemical messenger. And particular messenger, it can sometimes also function as neurotransmitter, a hormone, or a paracrine and autocrine agent. So all type of the intercellular communication which we have discussed, which we have described, that is basically mediated by secretion of chemical messenger, and that secretion is into the extracellular fluid. Two important types of the chemical communication between the cells that don't require such secretion, mean the secretion will not be in the in the extracellular fluid. So in first type, the communication can also occur via the gap junction. Chemical move from one cell to the adjacent cells without entering into the extracellular fluid. Mean chemical will directly be relayed from the secreting cell into the target cell, and that movement will be through the gap junction. This is the one category in which the secretion of the chemical messenger and their diffusion into the extracellular fluid, that is not mandatory. Similarly, we have second type of the chemical second category, a second type, in which the chemical messenger is not actually released from the cell which are producing the messenger, but it is located in the plasma membrane of the cell. Mean that cell is not actually releasing the chemical messenger, but it is storing the chemical plasma membrane, and when any type of the stimuli, or when this cell encounters another cell type which are capable of responding to the message, the two cells link up via the membrane bound messenger. So that messenger will be involved in communication between the two cells, and that messenger is not essentially produced by that chemical by specific type of the cell, rather it is stored by that specific type of the cell. So this type of the signaling will be called as juxtacrine signaling. This is another type of the communication that is called juxtacrine. It is of particular importance in the growth and differentiation of the tissues, as well as in the functioning of the cells that protect the body against the microbe and other foreign cells. So this type of the functioning is called juxtacrine communication. So these are the different types of the communication between the cells, and different types of the chemical which are involved in communication between different types of the cells. Clear here? जी, any question? If you have any question, you can ask. जी, if you have any question, you can ask, please.
सर जेक्स्ट्राक्राइन
जेक्स्ट्राक्राइन का मतलब ये है कि ये ऐसे केमिकल्स हैं विच आर नॉट एक्चुअली रिलीज बाय दैट सेल, वो उस सेल में स्टोर्ड होंगे, उसकी प्लाज्मा मेम्ब्रेन